Hi guys and welcome back to another video. I'm Scorpso3. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. Today, we are going to be talking about work from home. What are the pros and cons, and is it for you? Let's talk about it. It's going to be just a straight up discussion piece, a straight up discussion to help you. If you are looking to work from home, if you are looking to change up the way that you do work, what's some things to look out for, what's some things to expect, the pros and cons, whether this is for you or not. It really does depend. It's not as clear cut as it sounds because everyone wants to work from home. Let's get this straight. Everyone wants to work from home. Everyone thinks that it's the life. Oh, I get to relax and chill in at home and everything's going to be fine. But there's a few things that you really need to think about before taking this step. And we're going to get to that. So, first of all, I want to tell you a little bit about my story and how I ended up here. So, I always worked outside. I was a very hands-on type person. I loved working with people. I worked business to business in sales and really enjoyed that. And obviously, for whatever happened in the world and a few different situations, I ended up having to work from home. So it wasn't really a choice of mine. It was sort of something that I had to do. And I did it. So I moved on to the working from home life. And it was, first of all, I thought, yeah, I could do this. This would be no worries. Like, this would be easy. I'm pretty adaptable. I can sort of figure out things as I go along. Some people can't do that. So if you're not that type of person, yeah, have a good think about this while we're having this chat, because you got to be very adaptable in work from home roles. Even if it's a role you've done for a long time in a physical sense, and now you're moving into a work from home sense, there's a lot of changes and a lot of different things. So let's get into it. Let's start. So, what are the pros? Let's start with the pros first, because you guys want to know what the benefits are, right? Okay, so you just got a new job. You've done the interview online more than likely because the company that you work for is more than likely not going to be in your hometown. Just remember that. It will more than likely be a bigger type company, or will more than likely be in a city. There's not too many regional towns right now, in Australia anyway, that are completing work from home. So it's more than likely going to be from a city. So you might going to have to get your mind around working for a bigger company and working for something in the city. All right. So the pros. Let's go. No travel. Man, I've got a car that sits out there that hasn't been driven in so long. It gets driven on the weekend sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't even travel on the weekends, which is great at the moment because fuel is ridiculously expensive. So it's really good to not have to worry about driving your car, the fuel servicing, the car servicing costs, the fuel costs, but you still have to pay insurance, rego, all that. So it doesn't make much of a difference, but the fuel savings are large. So that's a great thing. So that's one. Number two, and this is a big one, if you have a family, time with your family. If you come from the city where you have to travel into town and you're doing 1-2 hours every day in the car to get to wherever you need to be, just to get to work, you'll no longer have to do any of that. You can literally walk out of your bedroom, walk into the office and start work. Or get up in the morning, spend a good those 2 extra hours with your kids, with your family, with your wife before you go to work. And that's great. That's fantastic. I don't have kids, but I could still see how that could be a massive benefit. And on the way home, because you got to think that if it takes an hour to get home, 2 hours to get home, you got that time. Amazing. Okay, that's an obvious one. Potential tax benefits, depending on where you come from, what state you're in, for home office type stuff, which is awesome. You can get some tax benefits there, potentially, and utilities. So electricity, gas, usage, you can claim that on tax more than likely. So that's awesome. More sleep. Now, more sleep. Instead of getting up at whatever time in the morning, scrambling, getting ready, getting out into the world, um, you can actually pretty much sleep for another however long it takes. If you want to, you could literally sleep until half an hour before you have to go to work. You could sleep till 10 minutes till you have to get to work and get out of bed and do it. Now, I don't do that, but you could. So you can get more sleep in. I love that. That's good. Need sleep. Shutting off from work is much easier. So I used to work out in the field or out in the world, so to speak, and I used to always get stuck back at work. I used to always have to do things after hours. I could have been there for 2 hours afterwards, completing things and getting things done. Now, depending on your role, you might be able to get away with just shutting off from work. You can literally shut down your computer, turn it off, free your mind, and carry on. And it kind of gets a bit transactional that way, and we'll talk about that later. But it's good to just shut your mind off, turn off. Once you turn that computer off, you're good to go. Number 6, it's more comfortable. It's a lot more comfortable. Like, you don't have to wear a uniform. You don't have to wear a tie or a suit or whatever. I mean, you can, and I recommend you probably should, depending on your role. And especially if you're doing video calls, I would highly recommend you do that. But there's no uniform as such. You know, you can roll in a hoodie. You can roll in trackies. You can relax. It's comfortable, which is awesome, you know. And so that's 6 pros, that the ones off the top of my head. You may know heaps more, and if you do, chuck them down in the comments, because I'd love to hear from everyone about what they think is important to them and what they can get out of their work from home roles. It does, like, it saves the travel time. That's the biggest thing for me, and a lot of other things. So now we're going to get on to the cons. Now, this is the stuff that you really want to take note, because a lot of people don't really take into the cons of a job until you get into it. So let's go. All right. So when it comes down to saving costs, you got to remember that if you're going to be running a computer, several screens, which you more than likely will because of the work that you do, you're going to have higher electricity costs. Yes, you will get the tax benefits, but you're going to have higher electricity costs. So just remember that. This is the biggest one for me, and this is what I didn't expect. And this is the one that sort of still plays with my mind today. No freedom. No freedom. Now, depending on what job you come from, this may have more freedom or it may have less freedom. But this is the total opposite to what I expected. Because you would think that because you're working from home, you'd get a little bit more time to, go to the toilet, grab a hot drink, have some food there, have a little bit more spare time to actually be able to do whatever you want to do during work hours and still get your work done. No, not at all. Total opposite. And we'll talk about why in a minute. Stick around for that because it's very important. Number 3, relationships are harder to build online because you don't have an expectation to be around people anymore. Like, you don't literally have to. You have to go to your meetings, obviously. Most of them are online, which is fine. But outside of work, like, you know how you go out for a drink after work and you hang out and you learn about these people and you spend a lot of time with them. You don't do any of that. None of that happens. It can happen if you live close by and you're in the same state, but most of the time you're too far away from these people. People I work with are they could be from anywhere. Queensland, New South Wales, anywhere, and I am in Victoria and I'm nowhere near them, so it can take more time and more effort, and the relationships do not feel the same. So if you're one of those type of people who need to be around people and need to feel the energies of others, this may not work for you. I can tell you, this may not work for you. And everything can feel transactional. And I cannot state this highly enough, that everything can feel transactional. What do I mean by that? Like, conversations are transactional. It's kind of like social media where you type something to someone and then you type something back. It's just transactional. There's no feeling or emotion put into it. And that can be really tough. Okay, it can be really tough. So just remember that. You got to remember that when you're number four, when you're applying for jobs, it's no longer just you and your town. Okay, it's just not you and your town. You may be extremely experienced in what you do, but you got to remember that you're going up against the world now because it's online. So if you're applying for a job, you've got to remember that you've got to stand out and be different in a digital world, because they could choose anyone. They literally could get someone in Europe to do this job. They could get someone in Korea to do this for half the dollars. Like, if they speak English, whatever, doesn't matter where you're from. They can find anyone to do this job. So you've got to be really strong at selling yourself. Your resume has got to look really good. You've got to have other sources of information for people to find you, like LinkedIn, like YouTube, like show people what you can do. You need to be able to show them. It's more difficult to get a job in these roles to a degree. But yeah, you need to really have some more data for these people to look at, because online jobs and working from home is all about data. And we're going to get onto that a bit in a minute. Okay. So just remember, you're worldwide now. You're not local town. Okay. Number 5, you can feel left out of society. You literally can. And this is one thing that I didn't think about. Now, the situation that brought me to work from home, sadly enough, kind of made you feel left out of society. Even though I don't really feel that and I don't really care what other people think, yeah, it's segregated a lot of people. And then working from home, because you're not outside, not out in the world, so to speak, in the physical world, and you can't venture out as much as you used to and see people and touch people and work with people on a personal level and really build those relationships, you can feel left out of society. So mentally, you need to be strong enough to be able to deal with potentially feeling left out of society and being happy with that. So remember that. Or find other ways around it. Use YouTube, find a community, build a community. That's one way. Okay. Now, a basic one, number 6, you need an office set up. You literally need an office set up, and you need to be tech savvy. You need to be tech savvy, because if you're working from home, the majority of this is going to be done on a computer. And these employers, they're going to expect you to know systems and software quickly being the key. I'm relatively good with IT to a degree, and I can tell you that I've seen people come and go in a lot of the roles that I've been in, and they don't last. If you don't know technology, if you don't know how to use Microsoft Teams for video calls, Outlook as in the email system, the calendars, the new software that these companies use, if you can't pick these things up and understand to a degree how they work in the background, you're going to be in for a hard time. And that is going to isolate a lot of people, especially if you're over 35, 40 years old. I'd say more like 40 years old. If you're over 40 and you're not IT minded, you will struggle. So you're going to need to do a lot of learning. It's not impossible at all. But you just weren't brought up in that era of understanding technology. If you weren't up with it, then you will struggle, but it's not impossible. You can learn that on the go if you find the right employer who's willing to teach you. And that's something else we'll have a chat about soon. Right now, actually. So yeah, employers expect you to know these systems and the software quickly, even if you've never used it before. Okay, now this is another one of the hugest things. See, you're starting to see the cons. You're starting to see the cons are piling up here because I didn't think of any of this, and I didn't think it would be as bad as what it is until I got into these roles. Okay, number 7, you will be tracked. You will be tracked by your employer with everything that you do. And now, this is the scary part. This is what people don't see yet. And this is what I see is coming. Micro management of your life. No one, and I'm going to repeat this for every employer out there, is that no one wants to be micromanaged. Not one person. Now, with these roles, employers want to know what you're doing almost every second of the day. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm being serious. Like in some of these roles that I've had, you need to sign on when you start. And I've seen physical jobs do this. You need to sign on when you start. You need to sign off when you're going for a break. And obviously it's digital, so it is timing you. You need to sign back on before the end of that time. You need to tell your employer what you're doing. Sometimes, like if you're not getting the results, if there's something that's not happening, they want to know why. And if you're working for a poorly set up company or a new company, is virtually impossible to complete the KPIs and what they ask of you, if it's not set up well. So just remember that. I cannot stress that enough. But you will be tracked. And if you're not getting the results, they'll be asking questions why. And I'm talking like, I work for one company that if I didn't get back in 15 minutes, if I was a minute late because I was on the toilet or something, and they're like, what were you doing for that minute? What were you doing? Why? So there's 2 things to think about there. There's one is that you are seen as transactional now. They look at you as a robot. They literally look at you as a robot. They see facts, figures, data, because they can't oversee you and what you're doing, which they probably could if they wanted to. But because they can't do that and they don't know you very well, because you can't build those relationships, you're always starting on a deficit, which means that they don't trust you from the start. Like there's no trust because they can't build a relationship with you to start off with. You know, it's going to take time to build that relationship for people to trust you. And I'm the type of person that usually trusts someone straight away. You know, I trust myself. I say that this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm doing. And when that trust gets questioned consistently over and over again, like micromanaged, man, it's hard. It's really hard to just not quit and just say, no, F you, I'm out. Because you know that they don't trust you. And if you're built on trust and you build relationships on trust and that's what you do, remember this. Remember this. But just remember that it's digital now. It's transactional. If you can't explain why you're a minute late and they're not happy with that and they sack you, I don't know. I guess they could sack you. Just remember, you putting yourself almost into the realm of you're just a number. Because there's so many other people out there worldwide that they can just find someone else to do it. They can find someone else to do it. And that's sickening to me. But that's what I found. That's what I found. So, yeah. I can't even talk about that. It makes me feel sick. But anyway, but if you are going for one of these jobs, right? Number 9, I think I skipped a couple because 7 was you can be tracked. 8, most employers, I didn't say this, but I will say this again. I think I did cover this. Most employers can only see the results. So they're all data driven. You got to remember this. They're all data driven. So if you're late a minute back from work, a little red flag comes up on their computer and says, this person was late a minute. They're asking questions. They only see the data and they don't see you as human first. They see you as a robot first, and then they see you as a human later. That grinds my gears so much because, yeah, oh, you don't even need to explain it. But remember that. Okay. Um, you need certain skills. You need certain skills. There's no doubt about it. I think we spoke about this. You need certain skills. You need to be good on the phone. You need to have internet skills. You need to have troubleshooting skills. If your microphone stops working, your computer stops working, something happens on your end, you need to be able to fix it. Period. Because you're not going to get people out here to fix it, and the company's not either. Depending on who they are, I worked for a company where the computer actually had an issue, and I had to wait a week for another one to come. But that's that. But yeah, I cannot stress enough that you will be micromanaged unless you're a strong person and you can stand up and say, well, no, if this is the way it's going to be, I'm out. And that's probably the other thing, is that you have choice. I mean, if the employer has choice of the world, then you have choice as an employee. So I suppose the spirit of being passionate about where you work and really having a great relationship with your workplace and being committed to them kind of doesn't work because they don't trust you, so you're probably not going to trust them, so you're literally just transactionally working. So you're kind of a subcontractor. But anyway, suggestions, guys. Suggestions before taking the leap. Obviously, think about those things that we just spoke about, but there's a couple of suggestions that I have. Be critical about the mental aspects of work from home jobs. And when I mean the mental aspects, I mean this is not for everyone. Like if you're not good with being transactional, if you're not good with not being trusted, if you're not good with not having humans around you and feeling their energy and spirit, this may not be for you. Okay, if you enjoy having some type of freedom, I would suggest this is not for you because you will not have any. You think you will before you get one of these roles, but most of the time, you will not have freedom depending on the role you choose. Depending on the role you choose. Okay, keep physically fit and active. This is very important because you will be sedentary most of the time. You will be either standing behind a computer, sitting behind a computer for hours and hours and hours on end. You need to make time, and this is what most employers don't allow time for you to look after your health. You need to do this on your own time, but you got to be physically active and look after yourself. No matter what that looks like for you, whether it's yoga, Pilates, whatever, but you got to look after your body because if you're sedentary for so long, you will have body issues, back pain, groin pain, quads, like all this type of stuff. If you don't use it, you will lose it. Period. That's true. And the one last thing I would want you to really think about in depth is, do you want to be an employee when you think about working from home? Do you want to be an employee or do you want to be a work from home business, a business owner? Because if you want the freedom part, if you want the time with the family, the tax benefits, more sleep, shut off from work, well, that's probably not easier actually. The more comfortable, you get to choose your own uniform. All the pros and more. And to not be micromanaged, all the pros can come from owning your own business as a work from home business. You will get most of the pros because you are your own boss. You're in control of your data, your freedom. So you got to think about that because they're two totally different things. I would suggest starting as an employee, as work from home, first. Try that out. See how you go. See if you like it, just the working from home aspect. And then if you do, start working on the side for a work from home business. Because I think that's the goal. At the end of the day, you want to have all the pros, less of the cons. And you want choice. But anyway, that's the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it helped you. I really hope it helped you, because that's what we're here to do. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help people see what's happening before it happens. And this is important information. It will help you. And yeah, I hope that you found it insightful. Throw something in the comments below if there's something you want to add to this, and help the community and help people out, because it's a big, big change for people to go to work from home. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys for checking out this video. Like and subscribe if you feel like it. And I will talk to you soon. Peace out.